Hello, everyone, and welcome to Southern Lee Cavalier Football and the Mike McClure Coaches Show. I'm Austin Thomas, and I'll be your host tonight as we talk Cavalier football and visit with Southern Lee head coach Mike McClure. As always, we want to thank our sponsors for helping you bring our show each and every single Tuesday at 7:30 p.m. here on WFJA 105.5 FM. Wilkinson Chevrolet, Domino's, Farm Bureau Tramway, Sheriff Brian Estes, Dairy Bar and Flame Restaurants, and Jones Printing Company. Tonight's show will be rebroadcast at 6:30 this Thursday night prior to our 7:30 game on 95.1 FM, 1050 AM, WWGP. Video of our coaches show will be posted on the WFJA Facebook page each Wednesday by noon. I look forward to talking with Cavalier head coach Mike McClure tonight and bringing you exciting coverage of Southern Lee football. We're going to take a short break and hear from our great sponsors. We'll be right back with Coach McClure right after this.
WFJA would like to thank the following advertisers for bringing you the Lee County Coaches Show: Jones Printing Company, Domino's, WilkinsonCars.com, Sheriff Brian Estes, Farm Bureau of Tramway, the Dairy Bar and Flame Restaurants, Fix It Plumbing, and Brick Capital Video.
And we welcome you back to WFJA Sports 105.5 FM. Austin Thomas in studio tonight with the head coach of the Cavaliers once again, Coach Mike McClure. Coach, thank you for joining us here on the program.
Yes, sir, no problem.
All right, so Coach, a bit of a tough one on Friday night against Scotland County. Cavaliers fall to the Fighting Scots by a final score of 63-34. But what's interesting about this game, at least to me, as someone who took stats the entire game for it, the final score is a bit misleading because Southern Lee put up over 300 yards of offense and put their second highest scoring outcome on the board on Friday night against Scotland. Talk to us about from your position on how you're taking the production of the offense into this week's practice as you get ready for Pinecrest and kind of what those stats mean to you guys.
Well, it's very promising. Like I told the offense, I told them on Monday, guys were playing offense, I said that pace at which we kept and which we drove the field, I mean, it was plenty. We drove the field plenty series, to go in and score, and we pretty much were able to run anything that we wanted to run offensively. It is very promising for us to be able to know that what we're doing is working. The kids are understanding it. We just got to play complementary football and get stops defensively on the defensive side of things. So it's very promising that we were able to go out and still get, over 300 yards against a very good football team.
Well, and I think Mike and I were talking about it before the game, and there were a lot of comparable stats between Scotland and Southern Lee, and I made comment that at some point tonight we could see a shootout between these two teams because they're two high-octane type offenses, really starting to find themselves. And that was shown in the second quarter. A combined 48 points are scored across those 12 minutes. What's going through your mind on the sideline as you see both teams just go back and forth essentially on corresponding drives, putting points on the board?
Well, I'm thinking the same. I'm thinking it's going to come down to a stop. It's about who's going to make a stop. So I'm thinking, we're fighting, we're crawling back into this thing, but we just couldn't. It was our worst night defensively, by far very, very poor defensive play from us this weekend. We just couldn't stop them. I think had we had 2 or 3 stops, we would have been in the shootout, right, and it could have went down to the wire. But we just didn't have enough defensively in the stops for us. But I had that same feeling that this could go down to the wire. Being optimistic that we would go out and we would get a few stops, and be in a shootout. But those stops just didn't happen for us.
You talked about kind of having a rough night defensively against Scotland. But I think, too, on the other side of it, you could look at the production that they had and chalk it up as, especially their 2 running backs having a career night, both of them, seemingly on the same night. Do you take it that way as you come into this week in terms of prepping your defense, or is it, how do you prepare a defense after a game like that? Is it back to fundamentals or, back to what you know? How do you do that?
Back to the basics. I told them Monday, we were getting back to the basics with all of our circuits, our turnover circuits, with our pursuit drills, and just getting back to the fundamentals of things because it showed that we had got too comfortable. We started not doing our assignment and our responsibility, and we just lost the basic fundamentals of not wrapping up and not tackling and having poor angles when running to the football, those type of things. So we just used this week, the beginning of this week, to come back as a refresher and go back and do those things that we once done daily. But as you get deeper in the season, guys kind of, you kind of start changing your practice plan a little bit. So, but it was a good eye opener to get back to the basics for us.
Cavaliers continue their streak of forcing a turnover in every game so far this season, forcing 3 against Scotland on Friday night. From that standpoint, what did you like that you saw in terms of effort from your guys?
And so that the turnovers, that was something else that I thought was going to allow us to hang around in the game and keep us in the game. During that time, they took their starters out at one point in time, and I told the guys, we're going to make them put the starters back in, which they had to do. They had to put them back in because, we were slowly chopping down that lead that they had on us. But, it's just promising as well defensively to see us still going out and working our turnovers and getting turnovers, forcing them because they changed the game. They changed the momentum of the game. And, we had 2 interceptions and 1 fumble strip, which was a great play on the opening drive by Dylan Green, to come in and strip it and also recover it. So, when things like that happen, it's a good feeling for you. Now we just got to get back to the basics. Now we know we can create turnovers. We know we can get those things. We know, but we just got to go back and clean up tackling and pursuit angles and everybody just doing their job and not trying to do too much.
Coach, going back to the offense now, we've talked about it finding its identity and thinking about how far they've come week in, week out. Robbie Sims really finding his role as the leader on this offense. Friday night, you went 4 for 8 on third down conversions, which I believe is about your best percentage that you've had all season. Talk to me about your guys getting deeper on offense and still creating opportunities for themselves.
Like I say, that's that pace that we want to work at. Just staying ahead of the chain, staying ahead of the sticks. If we can knock out 5 yards on first down, or if we can even knock out 2 or 3, 3 or 4 on first down, that still keeps us in position to stay ahead of the chains, and that's kind of what we're doing. And I think they're finding that pace. They're finding the speed at which we want to go, and the efficiency that we want to be in as on terms of offense. And I think getting it done on third down is something that we want to do offensively. Is to stay ahead of the sticks and not have to punt or result in punt. Like I said earlier, we were able to drive the field, and that's testament to us not having to punt on fourth down, staying ahead of the chains.
So now with the evolution of your passing game really finding its identity, what is I feel like I asked you this question last week, but now here we are a week later, we've taken a step in the right direction offensively. What is the next step for this offense in your mind?
The next step is just to keep, producing, being able to, be efficient, effective in the run game, and continue to be able to pass the ball. Be able to get it to the playmakers out in space and let them do what they're doing. And ultimately, the teams are going to have to stop playing man-to-man coverage on us, and then they're going to have to play zone coverage, which allows us to do more things in our run game versus them trying to crowd the box. So. We just got to keep cleaning up what we've already been doing. Just polish it up, and we're only going to keep getting better.
And special teams, especially from last year, has come a really long way. Not only from punting, but from field goals as well. Talk to me about how moving forward, what you're hoping to see out of your special teams to keep building off of there.
Well, in terms of field goal, we haven't been so great up front as far as terms of field goal. We're great at sometimes, and then sometimes we look at it as a playoff. So that's one thing we're still trying to instill in those guys is this field goal. It's not a playoff. It's not a chance for you to catch your breath. Because it can be the difference in the game. But Brian, he's going out. He's kicking the ball well. He's doing what we asked him to do. Our kickoff team is being sound in their lane coverage, punt team as well. So I just think we're where we need to be, special teams wise, but it's always room and improvement. And I say right now, if we had to improve a unit, it would be the field goal PAT unit.
It's funny you talk about how that matters so much. I was looking up and down some scores of teams that we've played so far this season. The other week, Westover lost a game because they missed PAT with about 10 seconds left on the clock. So things like that do matter. But I think you guys are heading in the right direction in terms of becoming a more well-rounded team, and being good on all aspects of the ball. We'll take a quick look at our scoreboard from Week 6. Lee County with a big win over Hoke County, 27-16, and what was a close game for the majority until the Yellow Jackets finally pulled away in that one. Close game down in Richmond. Pinecrest comes out on top against the Raiders, 30-27. Richmond once again falling here in the 2022 season, so things definitely not going their way down in Richmond County. Looking ahead at the Week 7 schedule, Richmond on the road again at Hoke County. Southern Lee, of course, hosting Pinecrest this Thursday night, which has been bumped up due to the rain impending on Friday. I believe all these games have been moved up. And Scotland on the road at Union Pines with Lee County taking a bye this week. Real quick look across the conference standings. Lee County with a 2-0 record in conference play. Pinecrest at 1-0. Hoke County 1-1. Richmond County 1-1. Scotland 1-1. Union Pines 0-1. And Southern Lee 0-2, looking for their first conference win this week. We're going to step aside for another commercial break, and when we come back, we'll have our players of the game from the Scotland County contest. This is Austin Thomas on WFJA and the Coach Mike McClure Coaches Show.
WFJA would like to thank the following advertisers for bringing you the Lee County Coaches Show: Jones Printing Company, Domino's, WilkinsonCars.com, Sheriff Brian Estes, Farm Bureau of Tramway, the Dairy Bar and Flame Restaurants, Fix It Plumbing, and Brick Capital Video.
And we welcome you back to WFJA. Coach Mike McClure here in studio for the Mike McClure Coaches Show. Austin Thomas hanging out, getting ready to hand out some hardware. Of course, we do this each and every week in our second segment, looking back at the Scotland County game and handing out some awards to some young men that had exceptional games on last Friday night. Of course, our first award that we hand out, as always, is the Norman Financial Group and Bubba Subs and Pizza Offensive Player of the Game. And Friday night, Mike and I selected Mr. Robbie Sims, sophomore quarterback, second week in a row. He's been selected as Offensive Player of the Game, going 9 for 20 passing with 159 yards and 1 touchdown on the night. Coach, talk to us about Robbie and his improvements week by week.
Well, he's taking the coaching. He's taking the coaching that we're, doing practice, and he's applying it to the game. Stepping in the pocket a little bit more. I kind of had a conversation with him Friday on the sideline, and told him, I say, I need you to hang in there and, step up and understand that the hit's coming and just deliver the ball. And, that very next play, he stands in there and he delivers, a deep ball for like 60, I believe, to Anthony. And then we punch it in the next play. So those are the type of things that, that we need from him. And that's how he responds, by stepping in there and getting it done, able to come out and, have his highest game passing the football. And then he had 2 touchdowns, 1 on the ground and one in the air. So definitely taking the coaching and maturing each game and growing and progressing each game is what we need, what this team needs from him.
In terms of running, running the ball, he had probably his best night on Friday night. He did, of course, had his first rushing touchdown of the season, so we were happy to see that as he punched it in for 6.
Just got to teach him how to slide.
Yeah. He'll take a hit.
Yeah.
He also likes to hold on to the ball a little bit, it seems.
Yeah.
But I think that's just that fighter in him of wanting to try to make something happen. But talk to us about his running game. He's obviously a good athlete, has a tremendous arm. Is there still ample opportunity in your mind for him to evolve his running game as a dual threat quarterback, or do you see him more as a pocket passer, make the play happen downfield kind of guy?
Definitely a more situational runner.
Okay.
Some plays where we can get in, where we can get him to get a quick 2 or 3 yards if need be. Just because he's he's kind of a big kid, you know.
Yeah. With plenty of room to grow,
yeah,
too.
he is. So, you know, I think as more as he hits the weights and continue to fill out, then it'll be even more part of the, you know, more for us to have him run more. But I see him being, you know, a dual threat, being able to run it or pass it, being doing both, because he kind of does both for us right now.
Right.
Yeah.
I tell you, it's been a pleasure watching him just evolve his game week in, week out already this season. As a sophomore, I can't wait to see what his ceiling truly is going to be over the next couple of years. Well, now comes time where we name our Norman Financial Group and Bubba Subs and Pizza Defensive Player of the Game. And funny enough, similar to a couple of weeks ago, Mike and I also chose the same player that Coach McClure chose for his Wilkinson Chevrolet and Coach McClure Player of the Game. So, Coach, why don't you tell folks who we got?
Well, Defensive Player of the Game and just overall Player of the Game this week is Anthony Robinson. And Anthony's been getting it done for us ever since, you know, Green Hope, and he hasn't looked back. I mean, he always finds a way to make a play. Teams are before the game, they always ask me, "Who's number one for y'all? Who's number one for y'all? Where did he come from?" You know, I was like, we had him last year. We just, you know, but he's matured. And he's accepted his role as being the playmaker, the guy that we need to make plays, and he doesn't try to do too much. He just does what we ask him to do, what he's coached to do, and he gets it done. You know, he had him play him defense this week due to a couple of injuries. He had 4 tackles and an interception that I thought he was going to take all the way back, but he ended up getting 52 yards on it. And then he came on offense. And he had another 60 on the ground, I believe, and 80 through the air receiving.
Right.
So I mean, to me, that's an overall player stats to me. You know.
Well, you know, it's funny that you mentioned that he's a guy that you've had, but people are certainly starting to notice him now. Talk to me about his evolution from, you know, the first time that you worked with him to now, and just the player and the student and the person that he's become to this point.
Well, it's always been in him. You know, just my first year he was just a sophomore, so you know, and asking him to do that during as a sophomore is kind of hard on some kids, but you know, eventually as he became comfortable with the offense and what we wanted him to do, he's accepted a leadership role. You know, he's always, you know, quiet young man. So, but his teammates, they look up to him and they respect him, and they know that they can look to him to make a play. And I think he's accepted that responsibility as being that guy to make a play.
Right.
He's taken on that role, and he looks forward to doing it week in and week out.
So Anthony, of course, is a senior. Will be graduating, you know, later in the spring. You kind of have a limited number of seniors on this roster this year. Talk to me about their impact, you know, as kids that started playing for you as sophomores, have worked through your system, essentially their majority of their high school career, and their value on the players that are going to be playing for you next year.
Well, they certainly had an impact, you know, and I've definitely been able to see them grow from, you know, my first year until now, in a positive way, in a good way. And, you know, they accepted, bought into what we're trying to do and to the culture, and now they're setting an example for the younger guys now on what we want this program to look like and what we're trying to get accomplished during this program. You know, and I think with that type of leadership and that type of those guys out in the front, that, you know, good things are to come for us. Just because those guys have bought in, they showed, you know, they're bought in, and now they're starting to reap some of the benefits of buying in and putting in work.
Coach, we got a couple minutes left, so of course, congratulations to Robbie Sims and Anthony Robinson for being named our players of the game for last week. Congratulations to those guys, just tremendous job as always. Couple minutes left. Want to focus now on our game Thursday night. Now, of course, that game has been moved up due to the impending weather on Friday, as just about all games across the state have been moved up. Thursday night's game will be against Pinecrest at home against the Patriots. Pinecrest 3-2 overall so far this season, having won their opening conference game last week against Richmond 30-27. Talk to us about the Patriots, what you know, and what the Cavaliers are going to have to do in this game.
Well, defensively, we're gonna have to stop the run. We're definitely gonna have to do that after the display that we put on, last week. We can expect to get a heavy dose of run. Offensively, I feel like we're hard offense to get prepared for, and by it being a shorter week, maybe that will work to our advantage. But we just got to continue to do what we're doing offensively. They're going to come with a three-man front, odd front on us. They might try to blitz us a little bit, but overall, we just got to do what we're doing, stay within our means, and not try to get too fancy or try to do too much. We just got to stop the run, and I think we'll have a successful night.
Coach, we're looking forward to it. And, of course, it is senior night on Thursday night, so we encourage everybody to come out and give everybody's well wishes to all of our seniors that'll be graduating later on in the spring. And weather looks good for Thursday night as of now, so it'll be a good night to come out and support your Cavaliers. Coach, as always, thank you for joining us here. This has been the Coach Mike McClure Coaches Show. We're going to take one more commercial break. We'll be right back right after this.
WFJA would like to thank the following advertisers for bringing you the Lee County Coaches Show: Jones Printing Company, Domino's, WilkinsonCars.com, Sheriff Brian Estes, Farm Bureau of Tramway, the Dairy Bar and Flame Restaurants, Fix It Plumbing, and Brick Capital Video.
And we welcome you back. We hope you have enjoyed listening to the Mike McClure Coaches Show here on WFJA. We want to remind you to join us each and every Tuesday night at 7:30 p.m., our normally scheduled time, on 105.5 FM WFJA, and this Thursday night prior to the game at 6:30 p.m. on WWGP 95.1 FM, 1050 a.m. Our Coaches Show is also posted on the WFJA website and Facebook page each Wednesday by noon. We also want to remind you to check out the WFJA website. Go to Sports, then High School Football, and you will see a choice of pages to include our results page with complete game articles posted by midnight after each game, the conference standings and power rankings, schedules for all teams in the Sandhills Athletic Conference, and up-to-date season stats for the Southern League Cavaliers. Good luck to the Cavaliers this Thursday night as they return home and host the Pinecrest Patriots for senior night. We thank each of our sponsors for bringing you our show tonight: Wilkinson Chevrolet, Domino's, Farm Bureau of Tramway, Sheriff Brian Estes, Dairy Bar and Flame Restaurants, and Jones Printing Company. And we thank you for listening to WFJA and WWGP Sports. It's time for Southern League football.